We dive into an interview with a very special guest and a mailbag next year on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we returned here with another episode of Locked On Ravens. I'm your host, Kevin Oestreicher of Ravens Wire, and we return. It is a Wednesday edition, a midweek edition here of Locked On Ravens, and a very special one because, as I kind of teased earlier in the week, we do have an exclusive interview with a former Baltimore Ravens player, and I dropped a hint on the Monday episode, a little, he don't make the law, he blank, blank, blank. Well, the answer is he Justin Forsett. So the player is former Ravens Pro Bowl running back Justin Forsett, and we talk about everything: his football life and his time with the Ravens, and also his business. And he's also partnering to provide opportunities for a very great cause. So there's a lot to dive into in that interview, and I'm excited for everybody to hear it. But also, let's not forget the mailbag. We have 2 mailbag segments as well after our interview with Justin Forsett, so we'll be answering those questions. And again, thank you to everybody who has submitted a mailbag question. If you want to do so, I put out a tweet every Monday evening, so you can put your questions below there. But let's dive into first this interview with Justin Forsett. Before we do that, though, be sure to follow the show in audio form, whether that's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Turn notifications on so you know our content comes out. I'll tell you right here, though, it's Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. Also, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel because if you can see my face and my background, and obviously the interview with Justin Forsett is also in video form, so that's a bonus. But you can see everything. Be sure to subscribe, like the video. It does help out. We've grown the channel a ton since first starting out here on YouTube, and I'm greatly appreciative for everybody who has subscribed already and who is going to subscribe in the future. So let's dive into this. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter at CashRicker34 and the Locked On Ravens account at Locked On Ravens. But without any further ado, let's dive into our exclusive interview with former Ravens running back Justin Forsett. And now joining me here on the show is former Baltimore Ravens running back, spent 2014 to 2016 with the team, Pro Bowler Justin Forsett. Justin, it's an honor to have you here on the show. Thank you for taking the time. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. And because this is a Ravens podcast, Justin, I did want to ask you a few questions about this Baltimore Ravens team and your time playing for the organization. And the Ravens in general seem to be lauded as an organization by veterans who come in there, and really get an idea of what they're about. And when they leave, they say, hey, look, I love playing for this organization. I love playing for Coach Harbaugh, et cetera, et cetera. What was your time like playing for an organization like the Ravens that is regarded with such high class and such high optimism?
No, it was an awesome experience, man. Changed my life. Actually, it was an answer to a lot of prayers for me going there. The 7th year of my career, age 29, when I didn't know if I'd be able to play again after leaving the Jaguars prior to coming to Baltimore, and it was just a breath of fresh air for me to come to a first-class organization that take care of the player, take care of the player and their families. And no, it was an awesome experience. So they're second to none when it comes to just like care and treatment of the players.
Yeah, and you spent a lot of time with a lot of different teams during your NFL career, kind of
Yeah.
making sure that you realized your dream, which was a bunch of different things, but to play in the NFL, it takes a strong-willed individual to do that. And Justin, I'm curious, what kind of was your motivation to keep going? And, when you went here and went there and went everywhere, that you were able to say, I want to make this my dream and I want to make it the best dream it can be.
Well, I knew I had it in me. Like I knew greatness lived inside of me. And I just needed an opportunity to prove it. They gave me the opportunity, and I was just, of that, mental fortitude where it's just like I wasn't going to give up. I knew I had the skill set and the talent, knew what God had given me, and I was ready to display it. And I just stayed prepared for my moment when it came. It ended up coming, year 7. But it was such a sweet experience when it did happen.
Yeah, and that 2014 season for you, Justin, was phenomenal. Obviously, making the Pro Bowl, coming in and being the number 1 back in Baltimore and proving that you did have it in you. But the 2015 season for the Ravens in general was one filled with injuries, and it can be related back to what the Ravens are going through this year with how many injuries they've gone through. You said, earlier in the year, this is ridiculous. Let me go and maybe suit up for this team one more time.
Yeah.
But Going on that experience, Justin, and being a part of that 2015 team that went through so many different injuries, yourself included, had one. What was it like maybe just come out to practice every day and not really knowing, all right, are you practicing? Are you practicing? What's going on? What is it like being a part of a team that's just so marred by injuries after having such high potential coming into the season?
Oh, it's definitely tough, and I think my injury happened the same day as Joe Flacco, and we kind of like had a domino effect of people just falling afterwards after in that 2015 season. But yeah, it was tough. There's no way else to put it. That you come to work and you do your job, and you can't worry about the things that you can't control. People who are healthy or not, you just got to be there with the team that's there and that's ready to play. And it happens to everybody. Because I know every year there's a team that's like riddled with injury, and it's just the course of love of life in the NFL. So just bite down and say, hey man, I got to go out there and do my job and prepare the best of my ability and make sure that I'm putting the best representation forward, because this is a time where people are getting scouted internally, externally, and it's like, man, who's going to be able to stay and stick around for next year, because usually during this time there's a lot of rotation and turnover with position, like you're bringing people in. Race of injuries, like, okay, they're bringing a lot of people in, so who's going to stay and stick around for next season? So it's just being having that competitive mindset and self drive within.
Yeah, it's next man up for sure. And I think John Harbaugh prepares his guys to fight every single week, even though they're going through all this stuff. And
Yeah.
Justin, what was it like playing for a coach like that? Someone who you mentioned the organization, how they took care of you, your family, and everybody. But a coach like John Harbaugh is one that has turned into such a player's coach, and his players love him and everything. So, how has that been, or how was that playing for a coach like John Harbaugh?
It was great. Just a very cerebral coach, smart, understands the game. He's going to make sure that he puts his players in the best position possible to be successful. Preparation is key. Like, I mean, I didn't, before coming to Baltimore, I never prepared as much as a team as we did with, in Baltimore. Just that's, a testament to how, I guess, forward thinking and how prepared that Harbaugh is, and how on top of it he is when it comes to making sure his team's in the right spots and positions, so they can be successful. So it was really cool being around him, learned a lot, just being a leader and understanding. You can't please everybody, and there are going to be some tough times, and you got to be able to lead by example as well as speech.
Yeah, and during your time in Baltimore, Justin, you were in the locker room with a lot of veterans, a lot of what people would call NFL legends,
Yeah.
Marshall Yanda, Steve Smith. You had a bunch of guys, Terrell Suggs, even. What was it like being in the locker room with all those guys and kind of seeing these guys and becoming friendly with them?
No, it was great having them as teammates, man, building relationships with them, some legends, some Hall of Famers, putting on gold jackets one day. It was pretty, really cool, unique experience that I was able to have there, and just got a lot of memories, a lot of great memories.
Yeah, and speaking of memories, I'm always curious to hear from players about their welcome to the NFL moment, because you hear it talked about so many times, whether it's a jarring hit that says, all right, I'm here now, or something that maybe you didn't expect at the NFL level. It seems like most players have that, all right, I am here in the NFL right now, and this is the moment I've realized it. Did you have that?
I mean, for me, it was, my NFL journey was pretty up and down, but it started early when I had a great preseason, my rookie season, and ended up making a open day roster, and was on the roster for week one. And then after week one, I think that Tuesday, I got called in. They were releasing me. The Seahawks at the time, that's who I got drafted by, they were releasing me, trying to get me on practice squad, and I ended up going to Indianapolis and playing there for a couple of months, if that. And that was kind of my moment. It's like, okay, I'm not, nothing is promised here, right? Every day is a gift. You got to cherish it, and you don't know when it's going to be snatched away from you. So that was come out, welcome to the NFL moment. It's like, okay, I got to dig in, and every day I have to make every day count, because this thing is fleeting.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately a business. You put in all that work, and you really made the most of it over the course of your career. You went to a bunch of places, found a home in Baltimore, and turned it into something. So it's
Yeah,
really, again, strong-willed individual. I'd say you are, Justin. But
thank you.
For this Ravens team now, I have to ask you a question about Lamar Jackson, just the player that
Hmm.
he is right now, kind of get some analysis from you about the player he is, because he came into this franchise after Joe Flacco, took the reins from him, and has taken it to new heights. What do you think of Lamar Jackson in general as a football player and even as a person?
Man, nothing but great things to say about him, both on and off the field. Guys tend to gravitate to him. He's just got a great energy and charisma about him. Guys want to follow. And on the football field, he's just a talented, amazing quarterback that we a style of play we haven't seen in the NFL since the likes of Michael Vick, and he's a generational talent. I think we've only scratched the surface of what he can do. His passing continues to improve. He's finding great relationships and targets with guys like Mark Andrews, and I think it's only going to improve over time. So sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I say, Justin, the sky's the limit for your company as well, which I want to talk about here in Hustle Clean. It's a company that you obviously take great pride in and have grown. And I want to give you the floor here to just talk a bit about Hustle Clean first off, just how you came up with the idea and even got it to where it is today and some of the goals and aspirations that you have moving forward for it.
For sure. So, Hustle Clean is my company. It's a mission-driven self-care brand for the active lifestyle. We create convenient hygiene products with clean ingredients for the everyday athlete, and we've been growing this brand for a very long time. I started when I was in the NFL, just from a place where, as an athlete, I was constantly on the go. Couldn't always take a shower after every interval of sweat, so I wanted to make sure I was practicing good hygiene. So we created this disposable washcloth, antibacterial towelette that removes sweat, dirt, and body odor, and put it out on the marketplace. It was on Amazon for a long time as a side hustle, and then when I retired, it became my main hustle, and been able to see great growth on the revenue and sales side and the community side, but also just on the impact. On the impact side of things, we've been able to do a lot of great things in the world and help a lot of people, serve a lot of people in need, and yeah, it's been really a blessing to be a part of.
Yeah, and one of the things that I took away from your journey with Hustle Clean, Justin, is how you handle some types of failures and even some types of bumps in the road. Especially, you went on Shark Tank, which is an absolutely wonderful opportunity. You didn't end up getting a deal, but you have turned that experience into something so positive. Could you kind of dive into what happened there and how you were able to come away from that positively and turn Hustle Clean into what it is today?
Yeah, for sure. Shark Tank was a pivotal part in our business in a number of ways, both internally and externally. Just being able to get awareness and attention on that scale was amazing, and then notoriety and people knowing the brand and following the brand. But then internally, just being able to grow and sharpen up on things that I needed to sharpen up on as an entrepreneur and a businessman, and what we needed to do internally and organizationally. And it was an amazing opportunity for us that really propelled us into the position where we are now, and being able to scale mass retail. We're in Target stores all over the country, Walmart all over the country, Amazon, our Hustle Clean website. So we've been doing some really cool things. Got some really amazing partnerships that we've been a part of. Just signed a multi-year deal with Cal Athletics, where we're providing hygiene products for the student athlete body there. So it's been a great ride, and a lot of it came from just that those moments of adversity, those moments when we had challenge and we had to make sure that it refined us and not defined us and made us better. So that's kind of what we look at it, especially the Shark Tank experience.
Right, and that's something that I think is pivotal to have in any business, any mindset to have there. But Justin, you teamed up with Shock Doctor to provide opportunities for younger athletes, and I wanted to give you the floor to talk about that partnership and what it means to you to be able to provide for these younger athletes who obviously do deserve it, and just what the partnership entails with Shock Doctor.
Yeah, Free Play is our initiative to give scholarships to youth sports athletes that have been priced out of sports. So, for whatever reason, money has been a barrier for these youth athletes that come from underserved communities, and we want to make sure that we level the playing field by providing them scholarships to do what they love to do. There's a lot of benefits that we get from sports, teamwork, leadership skills, great character traits that you get from playing sports that we don't think anybody should miss out on. We think free sports should be free for all, and we try to do our part to make sure that we're stepping in the gap for those that can't, afford to pay some of these high registration fees and equipment costs. We fill in the gap for them. So we're doing that right now with Shock Doctor. Shock Doctor puts on a Legend Showcase where they put on 707 flag football tournaments all over the country. We're sponsoring 5 teams for each of the 5 stops that they have, and we're gonna get a team there. Travel, food, all the expenses paid, courtesy of our Free Play charity in partnership with Shock Doctor. So it's a pretty cool experience. I'm excited. Kicking off this partnership with them, and hopefully we'll be able to change and have impact in a lot of lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you will, especially with the partnership and the drive that you have as a business and Shock Doctor as well. But Justin, for people who are interested in finding out more about Hustle Clean, Shock Doctor, the
Mhm.
partnership, the free play, where can people go, whether it's social media, a website, to find out more?
Yeah, you go to shockdoctor.com /free play, or you can go to hustleclean.com and find out more about what we're doing. And of course, we're posting on all social media channels at Hustle Clean, so you'll be able to find us and find more information there as well.
Well, go check it out. Go check out Hustle Clean, Shock Doctor, the partnership, and everything you can, and support Justin and his endeavors. But Justin, it was great having you on here. That's all I have for you. Thank you so much for joining me here, and best of luck to you in the future.
Thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate you.
A big thank you to Justin for coming on the show, talking, about his time with the Ravens, also his company and what his company is doing. Great things in the community and the partnerships that he has and what he's been able to do and really make an impact on the entire world with it. So it was great to have him on and talk some football and some non-football things with him. But we'll head into our first break. When we get back, we'll be diving into the first batch of our mailbag questions. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be right back. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. It makes it easy to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good. If you want to eat healthy, but it just gets boring, and by week 3, you're kind of thinking, oh, this isn't worth it. Where's the chocolate? Well, Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, and they contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compared to other candy bars, that is pretty good. And here's an idea for the new year. If you want to go all out with your treat stashes, you can throw out all that sugary or calorie-filled treats and replace them with Built Bars. And even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you can eat something that tastes good in a Built Bar. And there's so many flavors to choose from. So be sure to go to Built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off of your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. We return here, our second segment of this midweek edition of Locked On Ravens. Kevin Ostreicher, your host, still here with you. And we're just coming off of that interview with Justin Forsett. Again, a big thank you to Justin for coming on the show. But now we're going to be diving into our mailbag as we do here on Wednesdays. We have 2 segments of mailbag questions. And I do want to kind of throw in a studs and duds at the end of the third segment. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But we'll start off here with a full segment from the same person, as we have 3 questions from Positive Vibes 0611, a constant contributor here on the mailbag. And he has a couple of comments, and we'll dive into them. So let's first start off with his draft needs, where he just kind of comments some ones that he thinks are draft needs. He says draft needs: offensive line, defensive line, defensive back, outside linebacker, and tight end. So just going through these one by one. I want to take one by one here. Offensive line, yes, absolutely. I 100% agree. I would not be shocked if the Ravens drafted multiple offensive linemen in this year's draft, especially outside at the tackle position. I think that's huge for, the Ravens in general to go out there and really do their thing there. Overall, when looking at what they need, it's not really on the interior. It's more of the, hey, there's lack of tackle depth, and there has been lack of tackle depth for a very long time on this offense. And, whether it's like Andre Smith or David Sharp or Jared Jones-Smith, they've needed that depth, and they've got it in Patrick McCary. They found kind of a gem there, but they're missing the bookend tackles of Ronnie Stanley and Orlando Brown Jr. I don't see Alejandro Villanueva coming back. I think they can save money, and I think they'd rather see what they have in Juwan James. And yeah, I think for what the Ravens need, I mean, maybe they draft an interior guy late, but I think they're confident in Kevin Zeitler for another year and Bradley Bozeman at center if they do end up re-signing him. I know that's going to dictate what they do. And also left guard, they have options. Tyree Phillips, Ben Cleveland, they have that. So I think a tackle early, like first, second round, would be pretty ideal, depending on who's there. And this is a pretty deep tackle class. There are a bunch of talented tackles in this draft. So they can get a pretty premier prospect who they can have under contract for at least 4 seasons at a pretty good rate and have him perform at a high level for them, which I think would be great. Defensive line, yes, same thing. I mean, Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe, Brandon Williams, we talked about it here before, all over the age of 30. They've continued and began to rebuild the trenches, but, they had just Madubuike, they had Broderick Washington, but they don't really have a, a full room right now is what I'll say, because when Campbell's gone, when Williams is gone, when Wolf is gone, we don't know who's leaving, who's staying. When all that happens, they're going to have to bring in some more guys. Justin Ellis, great depth piece, not really going to cut it there. Even, Washington and Madubuike have not established themselves. So I know Jordan Davis out of the University of Georgia has been a big somebody who a lot of people like at the defensive tackle position. He's going to be a high draft pick. So if that's where the Ravens go, that's where they go. But yeah, I think defensive line is another huge need for them. Defensive back, yeah, same thing. I know Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati has been a huge name that's been linked to them. There are a couple other guys. Trent McDuffie from Washington, the same college as Marcus Peters. There are some really high-end corners, and I would not be shocked. The Ravens, Jimmy Smith, probably not going to be back in Baltimore next season. I mean, maybe he could be, but he did say that if it's not in Baltimore, he's going to retire, and he is getting up there in age. Marcus Peters in his contract situation is one that, people are looking at and saying, well, is he going to get that money from Baltimore? Maybe there's a restructure, and maybe they just move on altogether. I personally would like to see Marcus Peters back in a Baltimore uniform, but if the money just isn't there, it's not there. Anthony Aver's going to make himself a lot of money in free agency, and there's real possibility he's not there in 2022. Same thing with Deshaun Elliott. His injury complicates things a little bit, but with the emergence of Brandon Stevens, where is Elliott in the plans of this team? So potentially, yes, with the defensive back for safety, but for corner, I absolutely see them taking at least one there. Outside linebacker, I don't necessarily see this as a huge need to me. The Ravens have Odafe Oweh, but the issue, and where I think Positive Vibes is coming from, where I agree with him, is Justin Houston's not getting any younger. Pernell McPhee's not getting any younger. Jalen Ferguson hasn't shown you a ton. You have a solid foundation. You have Tyus Bowser. You have Odafe Oweh. I would love to see Justin Houston back in a Ravens uniform. And also you have Dalen Hayes. So I don't see the Ravens drafting an outside linebacker necessarily high up in this draft, but I could see a mid-round selection where it's more of that for them. So yeah, I could see that for sure. And then finally, tight end. Yeah, third tight end would be huge for this team. I mean, when looking at what they need and what they're going for, Baltimore, they've tried with Josh Oliver. They've tried with a couple other guys, but they haven't replaced that Hayden Hurst player. So yeah, I think that for the Ravens, they need some type of a third tight end. Our next question here from Positive Vibes. Has it seemed that more and more players have complained about the lack of putting drives away with touchdowns, or their quiet murmurs about play calling #Fire Roman? The #Fire Roman is back from Positive Vibes. It's been a constant theme. And, look, players are frustrated. They want to win football games, and they understand that. But for me, I think that with what they have in terms of pure personnel on offense and defense, they've been going through so many injuries. They've been so close to winning games. I mean, sure, yeah, guys are frustrated. Guys are upset. They want to win these games. They want to put them away. They want to be in the playoffs. They want to have taken care of their business, and they haven't done it. So I don't necessarily know if there have been any murmurs in terms of play calling. We saw Des Bryant go on a couple of tangents last offseason about how, Lamar Jackson's being held back by the offense, this, that, and the other, and stuff like that. But there hasn't been anything out in the open, at least not necessarily. Yeah, Mark Andrews was frustrated. We saw that on the field on Sunday, but they're frustrated with their lack of execution. I'm sure, play calling can be part of that, and it is. I mean, as I've said throughout the entire season, it's part execution, part play calling. Sometimes the play calling takes more blame. Sometimes the execution takes more blame. But, as of right now, I haven't really seen or heard any quiet murmurs about play calling, but who knows what's going on inside the organization at this point. And finally, from Positive Vibes 0611, what's wrong with giving Harbaugh one more year with a new coordinator, or give Roman another year? And if it doesn't end up in a Super Bowl or deep playoff run, fire them both. #Fire Roman. All right, so the #Fire Roman, 2 questions in a row here. And what the Ravens need right now is, kind of a sense of direction with where they're going with their coordinators. I think Don Martindale will be back next year. I think he's done, with the personnel he's had in the secondary and how he's had to adjust the scheme. Yeah, it's been there. But I think for what the team is looking for on offense, the injuries have been very clear. Losing J.K. Dobbins, losing Gus Edwards, Lamar Jackson not being there for the past month, Ronnie Stanley, this, that, and the other. The way that I see them bringing Greg Roman back is if they go, our offense was clicking at the beginning of the season, even without Dobbins and Edwards and Stanley. Lamar Jackson has been out. We want to see what this offense can do at full strength with the guys that they have. And to Greg Roman's credit and the offensive coaching staff's credit, the pass offense was better over the course of the beginning of the year. I thought it had improved, and I gave Greg Roman his credit for that. But he has not been as consistent over the second half of the season. So, yeah, I think, one of my big things is growth, right? I've said that time and time again, where I'm not happy, and I'm sure not a lot of players, coaches are. I'm not necessarily thrilled if this team loses in the wild card or division round every single season. That's not growth. It's staying complacent. And so I think that if the Ravens do bring Greg Roman back and that's the direction they decide to go in, it could be a short leash situation, where they say, you know what, if we struggle and we're 1-3, 1-4, whatever they want to describe as that, if the Ravens are that, then I think that maybe, there's a little bit of, all right, well, we kind of have to put the blame somewhere. And if the offense is not clicking, then I think Greg Roman could be that guy for them who could be the odd man out. But we'll head into our final break. When we get back, we'll be diving into the final batch of our mailbag questions. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be right back. Hey, Ravens fans, this is Kevin Oestreicher with the incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about in Get Upside. Get Upside is the app that you can get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up if you download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and use promo code Touchdown. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code Touchdown to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or any gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store and use promo code Touchdown to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. That's code Touchdown. We return here. It's our final segment of this Wednesday edition of Locked On Ravens. Kevin Oestreicher, your host, still here with you. And we're now going to dive into our final batch of mailbag questions. Had a full segment from Positive Vibes in the second segment. We'll start off here, though, with a question from Drayton Jackson, who actually it's, something where he asked the chances of the offense is turned over to Keith Williams. So what are the chances the offense is turned over to Keith Williams? It's kind of going back to what I was talking about in the second segment, where I'm not ready to say, where I think the team is going to go in this direction with Roman, because it literally, I am so 50-50 on it, where I just do not know what they're going to do, because on one hand, you have to at least bring up the question, has this offense outgrown Greg Roman? Has the run scheme and the pass scheme, whatever, has this offense outgrown Greg Roman and the flaws are too much to ignore? Or are they going to say, again, too many injuries, we haven't seen the offense at full strength, let's see it, and then we'll make a decision. So if in the event that Greg Roman is fired, I don't know how likely it is Keith Williams would get the nod to be the offensive coordinator. Maybe the Ravens want to go in a direction where they have a guy who has more NFL experience than Keith Williams. And I'm not saying that Keith Williams or T. Martin does not deserve the opportunity to do that. I'm just saying, with what the Ravens need right now, with the phase of the, organization they're entering, with a big contract extension of Lamar Jackson really on the horizon right now, what do they need out of this offense? Well, they need continuous growth. They need better pass concepts in some areas. The run system is there, but, do they need a fresh mind? We shall see it. And if they do want to go in-house, I think James Urban might be more of the realistic candidate there. And it could be between James Urban and Keith Williams, or James Urban and T. Martin, or they bring in an outside guy. I would love Eric Bieniemy in the same role, but Eric Bieniemy is deserving of a head coaching position. So that's probably not going to happen unless John Harbaugh goes the way of leaving. But, at the same time, the Ravens have stayed in a lot of the games they've been in, and they've had a lot of success. So is it going to be Roman? Is it going to be somebody else? I'm very curious to find out. And as that whole thing unfolds, we'll talk about it here on Locked On Ravens. But I think Williams is a good candidate. I just don't know if they're looking to have somebody who hasn't had a ton of NFL experience. He's had a ton of football experience. He's worked with NFL players. He's worked in the college ranks. He's done a lot in football, and he's done a lot for the game. But, whether they need the NFL experience or not, that's something that they'll have to determine. And our final question here from Menachem Gerstmann is, after running out of luck in the second half of the season, thanks for the lucky first half of the season, can the Angels of Luck set us up with one last miracle with the Jags win over Indy? And Menachem, let's hope so. Let's hope so, because with what the Ravens need and what the Ravens are trying to accomplish, which is making the playoffs, they need a pretty big miracle, with one of those miracles being a Jaguars win against Indianapolis. Now, the Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2014, so a little bit of factual information there. But, even it's weird. With a Ravens win and with a Colts loss, the Ravens would need, an outcome from the Raiders and Chargers game to happen. But if the Ravens win and the Colts lose, both teams, the Raiders and the Chargers, can get in with a tie. So there would be no incentive for either team to win or lose if the Ravens win and the Colts end up losing, because they can both get into the playoffs if they tie with each other. So that's kind of an interesting tidbit. But yeah, the Ravens need Jihad Ward and Joe Cullen and all these different guys. Zach Orr, who's there now. They need them to step up in a big way because even if the Ravens win against Pittsburgh in Week 18, they have not taken care of their business over the past 5 weeks, and they now need other teams to take care of their business. And, for the Jaguars, that is the business of beating Carson Wentz and that Indianapolis Colts team. So I'm hoping, Menachem, I'm with you, that the Ravens can get some help from the Angels of Luck and have it happen, but they first need to take care of their own business in Week 18 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where Terrell Suggs will be the legend of the game, by the way, so kind of fitting there. And finally, some studs and duds from the Ravens and Rams game. There weren't a ton of duds. I mean, Latavius Murray, not very impressive to me. Alejandro Villanueva had his ups and downs, has been, on par for him this season. But, studs, I would say Devonta Freeman impressed me. I thought that he did a lot of great things, and he deserves not a second chance, but another year in Baltimore if he and the Ravens want to come to that agreement. Mark Andrews obviously has been a stud for the whole season. I thought he played very, very well once again. Tyus Bowser, Justin Houston. Shout out to Chuck Clark and Tony Jefferson, too. Two safeties who played really well. Brandon Stevens has played well over the past couple of weeks, too. I'm going to give a shout out to him. The whole defense in general, I mean, another dud, I guess, would be the red zone offense. Going 0 for 2. The offense didn't score a touchdown the whole game. But at the end of the day, this Ravens team, I mean, the duds are the losses, the close losses, and some of that stuff where, they have not been able to take care of their own business, where they have really only needed one win to really put themselves in position to win, and they're in. But I'm shocked they're in this position now. It's unfortunate, but the injuries, the COVID outbreak, it's all been kind of coming back, and the magic that Menachem was talking about there, it's kind of ran out over these past 5 weeks, but hopefully they can rekindle some of it and get some of it back in Week 18 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But that's all that I have for you today here on Locked On Ravens. When we get back here tomorrow, we'll be diving into Crossover Thursday, the last one of the 2021 regular season, or I guess 2022 now, with Chris Carter of Locked On Steelers. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you tomorrow.